and ladies of the Atlantic Ocean. Today's topic is the SS Normandie. Her maiden voyage was May 29, 1935, Le Havre to New York, with a capacity of 2,917, a first class of 848, a second class of 670, a third class of 54, and a crew of 1,345. The ship would be launched on October 29, 1932, and all of France, and indeed the world, would be following the events of the launch. Largest object ever set in motion by man at the time, Normandy was the center of attention. The world's largest bottle of champagne would be used to christen the ship. Perhaps symbolic again that Normandy was to be the biggest and the best. With dignitaries and VIPs in attendance, including Albert Lubern, President of France. Madame Lubern officiated the launch and set the giant ship in motion. As the enormous ship entered the waters of the River Loire, the tremendous backwash swept ashore, dousing spectators and carrying workers into the River Loire. When construction was completed on Normandy, she was the largest and longest ship afloat, measuring 1,028 feet in length, with initial tonnage of 79,280. To be the pride of her owners and countrymen, she claimed the blue ribbon from the Italian liner Rex on her maiden crossing in May 1935. Keen on keeping the title, longest, largest, and fastest ship in the world, it did not escape her owner's attention that the British had announced the tonnage of their new superliner, Queen Mary, that was nearing completion at 81,235 final tonnage. And though she eventually lost the blue ribbon to the Queen Mary in August 1938, though she was the world's largest ship, the enormous size of Normandy did not mean she carried more passengers than any ship had ever carried. Her grandeur meant that each passenger had more space. Walled in molded glass, air-conditioned, and decorated by the foremost artists and craftsmen of France, were breathtaking. The sun deck, clear of all obstructions, stretched for 2 city blocks in length. She was equipped with a permanent theater, seating nearly 400, and a beautiful chapel. Staterooms aboard Normandy, virtually all luxurious bath and shower facilities, offered a new scope for the kind of gracious living that the French line passengers had come to expect while on board.
Je suis américain et je suis né en Pennsylvanie. En 1944, j'étais sergent dans l'infanterie. Jeannette et moi, on s'est mariés, c'était le mois de mai. Quand on m'a parachuté sur un village français. La guerre, Jeannette, je te l'ai racontée. Mais dans mon cœur, j'ai toujours gardé les vaches roses, blanches et noires sur lesquelles tombe la pluie et les cerisiers blancs nés du Normandie. Une mare avec des canards, des pommiers dans la prairie et le bon cidre doux mais du Normandie. Les œufs mais du Normandie, les bœufs mais du Normandie. Un petit village plein d'amis. Et puis les filles aux joues rouges qui donnent aux hommes de là-bas, qui donnent aux hommes de l'amour, l'amour mais du Normandie. Oh oui, les filles aux joues rouges qui donnent aux hommes de là-bas, qui donnent aux hommes de l'amour, l'amour mais du Normandie. Je suis américaine mais je suis née à Philadelphie. En 1944, tu es parti loin de ma vie. J'ai mis dans ton blouson un peu de terre de notre pays. J'ai tremblé en écoutant la radio toutes les nuits.
A tragedy which defies description. The Normandie's existence came to an abrupt end during the year of 1942. World War II was raging, and as America's involvement in the war effort was stepped up, the Normandie was called into Allied service. To be converted into a troopship, the Normandy was seized by the U.S. Navy on December 7, 1941. Work to convert the ship would commence immediately. Stripped of her luxurious trappings and plush furnishings, which had once been the seagoing refuge, renamed the USS Lafayette and entered in the registry of the U.S. Navy. In the following 2 months, nearly all of Normandy's great artwork would be removed and placed into storage. The public rooms were destined to accommodate thousands of American and foreign GIs. On February 9, 1942, during the continuing conversion work, a fire broke out aboard the ship, and the future of the magnificent Normandy would be smothered in a suffocating cloud of smoke.
June 3rd, 1935. The Normandie, $60 million luxury liner, comes to America on its maiden crossing of the Atlantic, an event that occasioned a marine demonstration that will live in history. Whistles blew and sirens shrieked a mighty welcome to the new Queen of the Seas. The famed skyline of America's greatest city formed a fitting background for America's greeting to one of the most stately ships that ever crossed the Atlantic. 6 years later, shortly after the United States entered the war, the Normandy was seized and placed under naval guard. Hundreds of civilian workers were put aboard the Normandy, renamed the USS Lafayette, to strip the vessel of its costly furnishings and to prepare it for war duty as a United States transport. February 9th, 1942, the Normandy afire. A fatal tragedy to the big luxury liner and to America. As the flames rapidly spread to devastating fury, workers madly scrambled to safety, while fireboats and fire engines poured tons of water into the stricken vessel. All fire doors, vertical and horizontal, were closed to protect the ship's vitals from the flames, but this was all in vain. Dense clouds of thick, acrid smoke billowed far out over Manhattan, casting a mucky pall over Midtown and downtown New York. While the blaze was at its height, hundreds of doctors, nurses, and first aid workers were rushed to the scene to remove the wounded and to administer first aid to scores overcome in their efforts to stem the fury of the spreading flames. Millions stood in awe when the Normandy first reached America on its triumphant maiden voyage. Again, millions lined the New York and New Jersey shores to sadly observe the passing of the doomed and ill-fated ship. Rear Admiral Adolphus Andrews, Commandant of the 3rd Naval District, ordered all hands ashore to save the lives of those who were heroically battling to keep the huge liner upright. Hour after hour, tons of water were pumped into the Normandy, causing a bad list to port, as strong hawsers snapped and tugs strove to push the giant vessel close to the wharf. Then, during the night, the Normandy met its final doom, when, with a resounding crunch of ice and a belch of smoke, the 83,000-ton vessel dipped her flame-scarred superstructure into the surface of the Hudson River. Hundreds were injured when America lost its biggest naval auxiliary. Millions of dollars of damage has been done, and thousands of man-hours of labor have been nullified. Accident or sabotage, the world may never know. But the fate of the luxury liner Normandy, rechristened the USS Lafayette, is one of the major catastrophes of our day.